It is.
It's 6 o'clock.
Okay. It's 6 o'clock. Welcome to the Midvale Planning Commission meeting today, March 26, 2025. We always start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand up. Repeat after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I get a roll call, please?
Chair Anderson.
Here.
Vice Chair Erickson is excused. Commissioner Tippett.
Here.
Commissioner Snow.
Here.
Commissioner Lidke.
Here.
Commissioner Edwards.
Yes.
Commissioner Kasparian is excused.
Thank you. Did you get a chance to look at the minutes? Any questions, any comments?
I didn't see any need to make any changes, so I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes of March 12th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next, we have our public hearing. And the first item is Darylise Nye, is that how I'm going to say it? Request conditional use permit approval for a dental office located at 7065 South State Street and State Street, commercial SSC zone. Elizabeth is presenting.
Okay, thank you. Yes, for a conditional, let's see. How does one, okay, got it, thank you. For a dental office, so clinical and intensive office uses require a conditional use permit in the State Street commercial zone. So they're in the red property shown there just north of 7200 and State Street. Staff found that they met all the conditional use permit criteria. The one that we typically see, businesses really need to meet is the parking standard. So they were required to provide, I think, 20 based on the size and use of the office, and they have 27 provided. So definitely meet the parking, and didn't see anything else of note.
Nice. Is the applicant here?
Yes.
Would you like to come and say anything? Do we have any questions for the applicant?
I don't have any.
Seems pretty straightforward, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'd like to, this is a public hearing, so let's open it to the public.
Seeing no public comment, I move that we close the public hearing portion.
Second.
Roll call or aye?
It's aye.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Who wants to make a motion?
I move that we approve the conditional use permit for a dental office located at 7065 South State Street in the SSC zone.
Roll call?
Second.
Second, sorry, roll call.
Chair Anderson.
Yes?
Commissioner Edwards.
Yes.
Commissioner Snow.
Yes.
Commissioner Lidke.
Yes.
Commissioner Tippett.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Awesome, thank you, welcome. Okay, next.
Come back up, Elizabeth.
Okay, Elizabeth, tell us about the Midvale City initiated request to amend section 17-7-311 Midvale Municipal Code, clarifying the duplex overlay zone language.
Aubrey's like, what did we do?
Yes. And section, do I have to do all of those? Section 17-7-1.3A, is that a 1? Changing language to be clear, additionally clarifying the duplex dwelling definition in section 17-2-4. Elizabeth?
Yes, I would love to explain.
Thanks.
So I've put a copy of what was provided in your packet. As I think most of our text amendments do, it looks really intimidating. Very few changes, very straightforward. So to the duplex overlay zone, which you'll see on the left-hand side, just getting rid of redundant language to make it smaller, more concise, easier to interpret. For the definitions, we are removing language that specifies that the duplex needs to be owned by one owner, because that is not in keeping with our practice, and generally we want to allow people to subdivide duplexes for individual ownership. So that just seemed to be an inconsistency that had stuck around in the code. So removing that, and then also changing some language in just the single-family or SF1 zone about the pre-existing attached structure. That's so people who are, building a duplex currently could apply to subdivide it. They don't have to wait till it's built. And just to remove any concerns about it needing to be a pre-existing structure or something like that, because we did want to be able to allow duplexes to subdivide moving forward. So that is the summary of the proposed changes. We found that this meets the third criteria of our text amendment criteria that just states it's going to more clearly, lead to more straightforward interpretation and helps with probably the original intent of the ordinance. And then a motion.
Nice. I
On
guess,
the ownership,
Yeah.
can we still sign something if it hasn't closed so the developer can move ahead? Or
Say that one more time.
so like if I'm buying the project,
Okay.
can we still sign something and have the future owner run it through? Or do you have to wait until you actually close on it to subdivide or to turn it into a twin home?
So as part of the subdivision process, the owner, whoever it is currently, would have to sign off on that. So I think it would be fine if you were in the process, just as long as they were listed on the application
Still can do
and
that.
we're aware of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would take a lot of time if we couldn't do that. Okay.
anything else?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you.
Is this public hearing?
It's a public hearing.
Yep, public hearing, open it to the public.
Seeing that there's no one to make public comments, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Do we need legal on this, or are we okay? What's your vote?
It's,
I should comment if you want.
Do you want to?
I'm
Say
sure
something.
I'm going to be doing plenty enough talking today, so why not more? This is a legislative decision, so you can make a recommendation for the city council, and ultimately it's their final decision as to whether to approve it or not.
Perfect. Thank you. Can we get a motion?
did we close the public hearing?
Oh,
yeah, we
yeah,
did.
we did.
Yeah, okay, so I'll make a motion. I move that we recommend approval of the amendment as provided in the attachments with the findings noted in the staff report.
Second?
Roll call vote?
Chair Anderson,
Yes?
Commissioner Edwards,
Yes.
Commissioner Snow,
Yes.
Commissioner Lidkey,
Yes.
Commissioner Tippett.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Next, Midvale City initiated request to amend Section 17-7-7.2 of the Midvale City Municipal Code, fixing errors in the use table for financial institutions, adding retail tobacco specialty businesses as an allowed use, and adding related specific use standards. Additionally, amending Section 17-7-7.2A, 17-7-12.2A, and 17-713.2A tobacco specialty businesses, and sections 17-7-7.8, 17-7-12.7, and 17-7-13.7 for related parking standards. Johnny?
Sorry, that one's a bit of a mouthful,
That was.
but it's a lot more simpler than it sounds rolling off the tongue. So this is just a couple changes to, let me back up here. So State Street Zone, Regional Commercial, and Clean Industrial, and I'll kind of highlight what they are in each. So for State Street Zone, we discovered an error in the use table for financial institutions with and without drive-up windows was actually flipped for which one was allowed and which one was an administrative conditional use permit. So we're fixing that. There's also the use of retail tobacco specialty businesses that was also not in the use table, whereas in other commercial zones it is. So we were adding that and use-specific standards for that use into the zone. And there's some errors in that, which I'll address in the other sections. And then we're also fixing parking standards for medical cannabis pharmacies, retail tobacco specialty businesses, and retail and service commercial uses to be consistent with definitions. Because currently they had in the zone, there was a minor and a major that it called out for different parking standards. where in reality our definitions can't hold us to that. So we were just fixing that to make it clear and understandable for these uses and their parking standards. And that's the same for regional commercial and clean industrial. We were fixing some errors in the retail tobacco specialty business use standards, and then the parking standards as well. So that's just a quick overview of what these changes are. So nothing.
Does a vape shop fall under tobacco?
Yes, and typically the designation is actually done by the health department for if it's a specialty business or not. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Aubrey, is it 15% of the floor area or is it 25? Yeah, 15% of the floor area or more is designated as, selling nicotine or tobacco products. That's when they would fall into this use, and it requires a different permit through Salt Lake County Health, and there's, separation requirements and stuff, which the ordinance refers to those ordinances in the state code. So
if they didn't sell any tobacco, would we still run this through?
If they don't sell tobacco,
If it
then
was
it's
just like
a
a vape
retail.
and
yeah, just be a retail and service commercial use. Yeah. And there's a general retail tobacco license, which is the less than 15% of the floor area in the commercial space. And that's also through the Salt Lake County Health Department permit that they would obtain to legally sell those products.
Okay.
So, yeah, a lot of it's done not through us, but through Salt Lake County Health. Yep.
Anything else?
Any other questions?
Let's open this up to a public hearing.
Seeing no public comment, I move that we close the public hearing portion.
Second?
Oh,
Aye. All in favor?
oh yeah, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry. Any opposed to that? Okay, next. No, let's have a motion,
Yes, we need a motion.
please.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
I move that we recommend approval of the text amendment as provided in the attachments with the finding noted in the staff report.
Second?
Can I have a roll call vote?
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Edwards,
Yes.
Commissioner Snow,
Yes.
Commissioner Lidke,
Yes.
Commissioner Tippett.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Next, we have Midvale City initiated request to amend section 17-4-1 of the Midvale Municipal Code to allow the city council to determine a planning commission stipend. Vendelin?
This amendment is all about you, basically, as the planning commission. It's pretty simple. You get paid more than the city code says. It's apparently that never got updated. And in order for that not to happen again, we decided as staff to change the language a little bit. If you think about the budgeting process in the city council holds the purse strings. They approve a budget, and then all the departments have to abide by this budget. So what this amendment does, it strikes the $20, the specific amount, and it just says as determined by the city council. And in essence, the city council has determined this all along because they approve our budget for you. So it really just brings the language back into reality, I would say. With regard to our criteria for code text amendments, I believe this really hits all the criteria. That's why they are all bold, for various reasons. The planning commission is essential. It's a required part in any planning system in any city. With that, it also complies with the state code. This particular change makes it clear who does what and who receives what. And obviously this was a clerical error. We did some research. the stipend got changed, I believe, in 2016. And since then, the city code has been out of sync with that.
Right as I came on.
So do you have any questions on this?
I don't have any. Seems pretty clear-cut and simple.
Okay, I open this public hearing right now.
Seeing there's no one here to make public comments, I make a motion that we close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I move that we recommend amending section 17-4-1 of the Midvale Municipal Code to allow the city council to determine a planning commission stipend with the finding noted in the staff report.
Second?
Vote.
Chair Anderson,
Yes?
Commissioner Edwards,
Yes.
Commissioner Snow,
Yes.
Commissioner Lidke,
Yes.
Commissioner Tippett.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Next is our staff update and other business. First, we have the annual review of the Planning Commission bylaws.
So this is meant as a time for you to let all of us as staff know if you have any wishes for changes in your bylaws. And then we can take that and work on the language and then come back at a future meeting. So if you have anything, this is your time. If not, we can do this again. It's not a big issue. So.
I don't know if there's anything in the bylaws that I would change.
Yeah. We good?
Not that I know them by heart, but.
I've memorized several hundred
I think
now.
I think we're good for
I
now.
think we're all right.
Okay.
Okay?
Great, and just because we have this basically reminder in the bylaws, that of course doesn't mean that we couldn't change them at any time. So if something comes up, don't hesitate to let us know.
I got one question for legal. Do you have to sign something like annually for, since I'm in the construction development industry? I had to sign something when I first came on,
Yes, it should be annually.
annually.
Would you sign that today, please?
Yeah, is that something you send me or Wendland?
It comes from Human Resources, so they will follow up with them and see,
Okay.
because there's a statement that normally you should be signing, and it seems like anyone who has a potential conflict of interest. So,
Okay.
but we'll follow up on that.
I'll send a reminder to you right now.
Okay, thank you. We have the open and public meetings training, and
Do it?
no, not really. So we can do the report later, because Daniel's probably going to take an hour or so. We'll see.
Probably 2.
Yeah.
Don't say that.
Let's go for 3.
I'm glad I get to leave her.
Slideshow make it to you? Yeah. Okay. So this is the annual open public meetings training that you're required to go through. I've had a lot of requests to just read the entire act to you, word for word.
I think I said that yesterday.
Let's all take turns reading.
That's, that was floated out there as an idea as well. I opted to just go with the slideshow PowerPoint presentation. This might look very familiar to you, being you just went through this in October, but the required training that you're supposed to do. So first is the legislative intent behind it. It's really just to be open and transparent so the public knows what you're doing, so they can be involved, see what's going on, why decisions are being made. Some definitions, the meetings, obviously you're in one currently. On the slideshow that you can read is kind of the outlines as to what qualifies something as being a meeting. You're all pretty familiar with, but it has to be done by the right person, through the right process, and to do things for the public and to talk about issues and agenda items for the public. As well as a quorum is definition. For our commission, it is 3 members make a quorum. For a public meeting, they're required to be noticed. They require a 24-hour notice at minimum with the location, place, and the items that are going to be discussed. The agenda items on that have to be specifically or specific enough that the public can know what you're going to be talking about, what's going to be discussed, and what actions are going to be taken. And of course, if it's not on the agenda, you can't take a final action on an item. For a public meeting, again, as was just kind of addressed in the last slide, it has to be posted, has to be specific. Public meetings don't require public comment. You can allow public comment, or public comment can be made, and at the chair's decision, you can discuss any items or things that the public brings up during public comment. But again, if it's not on the agenda, you can't take action on that or final action on it. And then the public hearing is the things that are on the agenda, the things that you can take final action on. Take people's comments on them, discuss them. Obviously, every item on the agenda clearly has a lot of public comment for you guys to take into consideration. And you can limit those comments from people in the public so that you can save time. Closed meetings, not a lot are going to be happening with the Planning Commission. Here are some examples of what constitute reasons for going into a closed meeting. There's actually a lot more than just these few things that are up here, but those are just some examples for you. Really, I think if you were to go into one of the more likely scenarios would be to discuss pending litigation or imminent litigation that, may come up. Since you don't want to change your bylaws whatsoever, this is actually an excerpt from your bylaws about ex parte communication. Aaron just read it to you 4 months ago, so I'm not going to read it to you again, but it is in there. It is important so that, when it comes to the public's business, everybody can know what's going on. And some more common violations. You don't want to be communicating with other people secretly in public meetings so that it's not on the record, so that people don't know what's going on. Obviously, modern era, electronics, but I wouldn't suggest carrier pigeons or anything like that either to discuss it privately outside of the meeting. I think probably one of the most common ones is the discussion after the public meeting is ended. Obviously, it's right on your mind. You just were talking about it in a public meeting, but you need to refrain from doing that because it needs to be part of the record and so the public can have access to it, which brings us to the minutes. They are there to make a record so that people who weren't in attendance at the meeting can also go back and look at those, and they are required. I think probably you've all experienced it. One of the more difficult things for these is when there is an item that there's a lot of public members and people start making comments from not at the podium and needing to have their information for putting them on the minutes. And then those minutes are required to be posted. On the slide are, the timelines for when they're required to be posted. You approve them every meeting pretty much for them to be posted and finalized. The enforcement for violating the Open Meeting Act is lawsuits, and pretty sure nobody really wants to be the commission that got sued because they violated it, so I would advise following them. And since there are no questions, I think that should wrap it up. Any questions, though?
No questions here.
Perfect.
So if something's been approved and said, yes, we voted on it, passed, could you talk about that after? Or would that still be a no?
I don't see why, if it's something that's already been established, deliberated, the public opinion, you've already deliberated it for the public, they've had their opportunity, and it's part of the record already. I don't see that there would be any issue if somebody was to ask you and you were basically just to regurgitate what's already in the public record. It could be better to send them to the minutes and have them go through it that way so that they can understand what was all discussed and kind of the background and the thinking for the reasons the commission made.
Well, and it might also be better for it, because most of our stuff goes to the city council. It might be best to direct them there.
To go there.
Yeah, then, because our stuff just goes there next, so.
Yes.
I'll say we've made an effort to do that with the notices that we send out. We post the agendas, packets, minutes, all on the same. And we've done that in an effort, so when people go to see the packet or information, they can see the minutes for that meeting too. So it should be readily accessible on their notice
Cool.
and on the city website.
Nice.
Thank you.
Daniel,
Thanks.
do you have, this is an easy one. But it
Somebody's
doesn't
not paying attention to the slide.
Do you have any counsel, let's say 3 of the planning commissioners find themselves in the same grocery store or at the same, let's say, WFRC training meeting or so? Is there any counsel for them?
Well, yes, if you find yourself in a quorum outside of a public meeting, it's actually specifically prohibited from you discussing and making predeterminations as to how you're going to action an item in a public meeting or any kind of thing like that. So, especially if there's 3 of you, you shouldn't be talking about anything that the commission's going to be talking about in a public meeting. It's strictly prohibited. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Next, Planning Department report.
We still have our long-term planning items that we are working on that you normally don't always see. But there's the Parks and Open Space Plan, and we just had a steering committee meeting for that this week. And the Porter Rockwell Trail feasibility study also got started, and we had a steering committee meeting on that. And so there's, Shane, for example, was there, and we had some citizens there. So if you want to participate in these types of things, let us know, and it's always appreciated.
I just have one comment
Sure.
because I was on a Zoom call about the parks.
Yeah.
There is a survey that everyone should take a minute and take. It's on the Midvale City website, so take a minute and take that park survey. That's all I have.
Thanks.
These surveys are they're actually quite helpful, especially since public meetings. You see how busy it is today. It seems we only get people to public meetings and to open houses when there's controversy. But if there isn't controversy, and with parks, as an example, usually there wouldn't be controversy. It's really hard to actually get the opinions of the citizens who would actually be using the parks. And so there's quite a bit of effort spent on soliciting input, and the surveys are actually quite a good input. Even though I know everyone has survey fatigue, but in this case,
It's only like 5 questions. It's
Yeah.
not hard.
Yeah.
it's not very
Yeah.
long, and this survey, these types of surveys, they actually do inform the process quite a bit.
What's the feedback on the trail?
So far, we're in the very beginning stages. So on in our steering committee meeting, the main discussion point was to hone in how much of that can we actually have in UTA's right of way next to the track. The UTA has some guidelines. Maybe they are firm rules, we don't quite know yet, with regard to spacing from the track.
Is that just for safety?
Yeah, it's definitely safety related. But from what was communicated to the city and to the consultant, by that standard, we shouldn't have any trails next to the railroad tracks. But in fact, there are quite a bit. For example, it's Porter Rockwell Trail south of us. And so we're trying to get a handle on that, how that exactly works. But I mean, in general, it looks like it's probably quite difficult to put the trail next to the railroad track, at least for the entire stretch of it. There's a good chance that we'll have to find some alternatives.
Thank
Okay, thank you. Is that it?
Yep.
Looks like we're done.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn at 6:29.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Our meeting